Hello, my name's Craig D'Souza, and I'm the CEO and founder of the Creative Industry Association. Today we have another lovely friend of mine, Jane Aldridge from Aldridge Crafts. Been in the industry for some time, but I'll stop talking and I'll hand you over to Jane Aldridge, who's going to tell us, Jane, first of all, how did you start in the business and what does your business do? And tell us more about you.
Yeah, well, as you say, I've been in the industry for quite a while, and I think I've known you right from the get-go as well. Started up, I think, about 2007. I used to attend a local craft club connected to a local craft shop, and the shop decided to close, and I basically picked up their craft group and set up my own sort of online sort of cottage industry selling craft supplies. To sort of dovetail in with that, and that from sort of very humble beginnings just grew and grew and grew, really. So I used to go out and do local events, traded online, and eventually got the opportunity to go into a shop in 2012. So I've now got a retail shop as well. But yeah, it's been a varied path along the way, because I'm sort of into paper crafting, mixed media, added beads into the mix as well. More recently, art supplies, sort of going into my artist route as well. And I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to go on Hochanda as well. So quite varied.
So that's quite good. So I always advise people to have kind of different revenue streams coming in. And that's what you seem to have done. Although you're a crafter as well at heart.
Yep.
And we know this because obviously I think every single month you're trying something new. I think at the moment the flavour of the month is your drawing and your artistry. Is that,
yep.
That's right in saying?
Yep.
And I remember a couple of years ago you got really into the kind of the beading kind of things. Yep. Now that interest obviously reflects on the stuff that you have in store, and you kind of go wholeheartedly into these sorts of things and get the best selling or the leading brands and stuff like that. So that must be great for you because it's fun for you because you're really embedded in that. But is that then difficult to see what's going to come up next? What's your next passion going to be? And what do your customers want? Or do your customers follow you?
I think it's a bit of both, because I think we're all sort of embedded in social media now. So I think you do happen to pick up on the trends. And see what sort of things are appearing more regularly in your feeds. But I've always been very much of a passion that I don't want to sell things that I'm not passionate about. And I think that your passion then drives your customers, that if you can give them confidence and show them how interested you are, that they will quite often follow you. So, and I do like to have product ranges that I can talk about with confidence. So, you know, that's always been a big driver for me, but it's been very important as well in retail to make sure that you've got the different revenue streams, because it is really like a roller coaster, you know, where beading might be on trend for a while, paper crafting, you know, and I think the key to my survival as a business most definitely has been having those revenue streams, even to the point that where I used to share the premises half and half with another business partner who did completely different. She used to do handbags and jewellery, and we dovetailed in quite nicely. When she went to sort of set up her own enterprise, I introduced a gift line in, because I recognised that, you know, just simply expanding on the crafts wouldn't bring me in a new customer set. I needed to bring in a new batch of customers as well. So it dovetails with the gift lines and the stationery, which is, you know, another thing I really enjoy doing. And it's a really odd combination on paper, but it really works.
Well, that's good then. And I also know from obviously years of experience and knowing you for such a long time, you've never stopped your education in terms of wanting to learn stuff that's new, also going off to discovering items. You know, sometimes you don't always do the regular trade events or consumer events. I often see you at random ones as well. Don't we kind of tend to bump into each other in random different trade shows or events. And I think that's really encouraging, because you never seem to have stopped that kind of education and finding stuff that's new. Is that something that you're driven into, or you recommend other people to do? And why is it important for you to do that?
I think it is important to do it because ultimately in retail you can't stand still. You've got to keep moving, and you know you have rent to pay, you have bills to pay, and if you're in retail, you need to adjust. You know, it's really hard out there on the high street now, and you need to keep it fresh. And the only way to do that is to go and educate yourself. So whether it's in the crafting line, the art line and the gift lines, you've got to go out there and educate yourself as to what's actually out there and available out there. And certainly for my gift lines, I was going into that completely blind. I had no idea of what items would sell, what wouldn't sell. And I spent a long time and a lot of miles going around the spring fair to find something different, because there's other shops doing gifts in town. So I had to make sure I was offering something different, something unique to me. And, you know, speaking to suppliers, speaking to them about exclusivity as well, to make sure that we're, you know, I'm not stocking the same stuff as the shop down the road is. And the same to some extent, trying to do that with the craft and art side as well. I mean, obviously there's a bigger limitation there because there's so many big brands out there that you need to cherry pick which brands are right for you. But at the same time, your mix is different to everybody else's. And one thing I've always been very strong on as well is that if we do have local customers coming in, particularly tourists, is to make sure that I also spread the word about other local craft stores, which sounds like a real contradiction in terms, but they come back to you because they remember that conversation to say, oh, right, okay, well, where are you staying? Oh, don't forget to go and visit so-and-so because they do this line of stuff, which I haven't got. And if you go, you know, and I think that's really important, like for the businesses to work together and also for your customers to understand that you're there to help them. You're help to give them a good experience with you. And they do remember you and they come back year after year.
I think that's a really valid point. I think, you know, retailers or businesses sometimes forget that actually they're a service-driven industry. You're serving your customers and you want to make them to feel good and everything else. Yes, you're selling, the way you survive is by selling product, but if you give them a great service, they're going to come back to you, or they're going to then tell their friends. And you know, the power of the internet now, recommendations, testimonials can either be company killers or company saviors. So it's always good to kind of share that feel-good factor and also that knowledge as well. Now, I know that obviously the last 329 days, or I think we're into it at the moment as we film this, have been very difficult, and we've talked a number of times, especially over the last couple of months. And it has been tough. But there's a few things I'm really encouraged about that you're doing, and I hope you don't mind sharing those. And I think one of those is, yes, you are bricks and mortar, so that's been difficult to keep open. So you're kind of relying heavily on online and on orders, but it's actually you're servicing your community, your local people, aren't you? Now, how are you doing that? Tell the people how you're doing that and why you're doing that.
Well, certainly. I mean, it was really quite a scary prospect when we had that first lockdown. You know, as we all were, we were all like, "Oh my God, how am I going to survive? What am I going to do?" And once we found out what we were allowed to do, I introduced a click and collect system. But I did offer a home delivery service because obviously, you know, with real strict restrictions during the first lockdown particularly, I knew that a lot of my customers couldn't actually get to me. So I did, I think, over 100 deliveries, I think, in that first lockdown. You know, and it was, you know, it could be anything from, you know, a couple of peel-offs even, you know, just sort of, I didn't have a limit on it. I just had a mileage limit on it. And it worked for me quite well as well, because I don't actually live in the town where my shop is. I was actually able to offer that service to 2 different towns as well. So I could, you know, deliver local to my house as well as local to the shop. And it's just making yourself available to a lot of people who don't want to order online as well. So, you know, I think we recognise that a lot of our crafters are in that older bracket, and not all of them are confident with using their card online, etc. So it was coming up with ways that we could work, around that for them, so that they could pay contactless on the doorstep, which they were quite happy with, rather than having to put their card details into the website.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's great that you've been able to do that. And has that helped you pick up new customers as well?
Yes, definitely. Obviously advertising on the local town boards and things like that, it has found customers who didn't know I was there, didn't know what I did. It is anyone who's got a retail premises know you get your customers walking in and, how long have you been here? It's like, well, that's coming up for 9 years, and like, oh my goodness, how have I never found you? It's you just always find those customers, but a lot of those have now found me, and obviously once they find you, they know you're there, and they come back again and again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great, because there is that, yes, there's the cost of the fuel and everything else, but also going back to that service driven, you've given them something that they're going to remember, and they're going to go, Aldridge Crafts delivered to me when I was in my time of need. I'm now going to make the effort to go. And I think that, I've said this quite a bit about this pandemic. Yes, it's very serious, and yes, people are fighting their own battles and going through their own issues. But also the flip side of this is I do believe that it's actually changed people's sense of community, sense of humanity, sense of what we got, forgiving, sense of wanting to help as many people as possible. Yes, we're going to get the few bad eggs.
And also it's brought out so many customers who want to support me, who are almost trying to find something that they can buy because they want to support you. They want you to still be there after this is all done. So they want to make sure that they're saving their local craft shops. So, they do really go out of their way to support you.
Yeah, but that's only, and I think you're absolutely right. But for anybody that's listening, I think we're going to talk about top tips in a minute. But I think for anybody that's listening, the point I would make is that you've not actually sat down and gone, I'll wait for them to come to me. You've actually made the effort to get out. You've been very great on social media, and that's not always selling on social media. That's what you're doing, what's going on. There's little short, sharp videos. You've also done one of the best things I think is really good is advertise locally, not globally, not nationally, not spending fortunes, but locally, because you're getting that local business, that click and collect. Those people that are 5, 10, 15 miles away from you, you're doing that. That's one of my massive bits of advice to people is know where your catchment area is, your 5, 10, 15, 20 mile radius, that's your catchment area, advertising that, whether that's local radio, local newspapers, just anywhere that you possibly they're going to get to. And that can be quite difficult sometimes. So if you need advice, please talk to me. But what other kind of top tips or business advice would you give people that maybe in a similar situation as you that you could share with us?
I think it does come back to social media, to be honest. I mean, as you know, because you often will comment and like online, I do a little quick live on my click and collect slots, and to be honest, I've been putting little collections of products and things out running up to, for example, running up to Christmas, when we had the lovely lockdown, right at peak Christmas trade time. Obviously at that point my business switches over to gifts, so I sat and it didn't take me very long to do. I think it was probably a couple of days work. I went through, identified loads of images for different themes, and then scheduled a month's worth of posts, so that pictures went up, you can buy X, Y, Z, these are the prices, these are the pictures, just to keep that out there. But I'm very much for lives, because it's the easiest way to get your message in front of your customers quickly, because that's what Facebook likes, is lives. And I'm very much as well about that people buy from people. So the fact that I'll go on there with my crazy hair some days, and it's like, that's fine, that's me. If you walk in the shop, that's me anyway. Don't be afraid to show yourself, really, because people will pick up on your enthusiasm for products. You can do a quick tour around the shop, and people get a real feel for your shop as well, and for whatever products you're selling, rather than all these very professional images and very cold and lifeless images. It gives everything a bit of life to it.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think also, again, because it's this time, people are also more forgiving. But if you mess up or fluff up, they don't mind, as long as you're crying, as long as you're doing something, as long as you're
we're all human, and that's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So last question for this kind of roundup is I'm asking people. I know it's the second month of the year, so the year is escaping rapidly already, and hopefully we're all going to be back up and running shortly. But rather than New Year's resolutions, I'm asking people to do words of intent. You know, like I'm going to challenge myself to be a better human being, to be better, offering better services, trying to challenge myself to make sure that I'm out there more. Also to try to inspire. I want to inspire people to be better, do better in their businesses, whatever that may be. What are your words for this year?
The first word that came to me was courage. I've reached a point in my business where I think we've all had a lot of reflection time during lockdown, and deciding where we want to go and take our businesses forward. And one thing, there's a lot of things I've never been quite brave enough to do, and it's actually, you know, it's not the lives and things like that which most people are daunted with. With me, it's quite a lot of the technical stuff, so it's things like launching into doing Google Shopping and things like that. I've always been a bit scared of the technology, so that's my thing. It's courage from a business perspective to sort of take that step forward, but also courage from a creative point as well, because obviously, as you said, I've been exploring myself as an artist as well, and taking on some studio space, and that's something I want to develop, and that does require quite a lot of courage to sort of keep putting yourself out there to find where you sit in that journey. But the other word is actually balance, because I think one thing that lockdown has taught me is the balance between work life and home life, which I think I had way off balance, which I think a lot of us do when you run your own business, and particularly when you're running your own shop. You know, you're required to be in a lot of places for a lot of times, and that's something that I'm really conscious of now, having had the luxury of having some time, is to make sure that when the shop is all back fully open again, that I get that balance right as well.
Fantastic. Great words, absolutely great words. Courage is definitely a new one. Balance, I think a lot of people have said balance. I think I've said balance as well on a number of occasions. But I think that courage is a really strong one, and it's also very scary, I think. Courage, it's great to have courage, but it's having the motivation and to kind of get there, isn't it? There's always that fear factor in there.
That's the edge.
Fantastic. Well, Jade, I know that we're going to be catching up with you again later on in the year, maybe in a couple of months' time. But I know that from me and from everybody that's watching, we're wishing you all the best for the next couple of months. We hope it all goes well. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to say goodbye and be well, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Craig.
Take care.
And you.